Biggie history moment. Here we go, buddy. Are you ready?
Not really.
You ready with some facts? You gonna dazzle us?
Let's see. So anyway, it was on this date, August 16th, 1812.
Yeah, that Elvis died. Let's go. Get on with it.
Detroit. No, this was in 1812. Though.
Thank you very much.
The Fort Detroit was surrendered to the British in the War of during the war as one of the battles in the War of 1812.
Fort Detroit?
Yes, and it was surrendered rather easily, I might add, without a battle whatsoever.
What?
Only
just handed over the keys?
Kinda.
Is he shitting on America, and not just America, but Detroit now?
Easy.
I mean, are you trying to lose listeners? We lost half of our membership base yesterday with a discussion that you allowed to go into the extra
Last
content,
week,
and now
the Kellogg's family, and now this?
I'm just saying that the General William Hull, who was presiding over Fort Detroit, gave up rather easily. And actually wasn't even outnumbered. He had more people to fight off than the people that took the fort.
Do you think he was
without
handed
a battle?
some beaver fur on the side?
Well, there was some speculation that he was drunk at the helm.
Wait, are you calling the leader of Detroit a pussy and an alcoholic? Did you just call Bill Hull a pussy? Basically?
Well, Michigan wasn't a state at this point; it was just a territory. But what happened is that. This was seen as to be pretty deep because the war was America wanted to get more Canada. They wanted to get more up northern to Canada, take that Canada territory. And even though Detroit wasn't part of Canada, it was a kind of under America, but it wasn't a state yet. And so this was. So my point was when you say it wasn't really, I'm not shitting on Detroit necessarily.
It sounds like you are, but
it's kind of important in that it's right at that inlet there,
yeah,
right? I mean, kind of an important waterway, right, Professor?
Yes, exactly. But water.
What were they going to do? Just go across the bridge and then
the bridge
storm
Canada?
The tunnel. What about the tunnel?
No,
yeah, that's even better. If you storm Canada through the tunnel, what year did you say this was?
1812.
Sneak attack through the tunnel.
Dude, sneak attack
August
in 1812. I don't even know if they had electricity then. You could get so far before you'd be on them before they knew it.
Well, here's what happened.
Raping and pillaging their whole towns.
Here's what happened. William Hull he made a few mistakes, to be honest with you. When he got into Fort, once the war was officially on, the War of 1812 was on.
Yeah.
They moved their way to Fort Detroit, and his whole way of fighting what was going to happen is just writing this letter. He just wrote a letter to the Canadians and the Indians, kind of saying, "Hey, we're just here, and I'm not looking for enemies, but if you're here, we're here to fight." And he thought his lettering and his wording would be enough to just to scare people off. And so in this word, I know I'm gonna read here, but that's what I'm gonna do. General Hull was so preoccupied with his attempts to terrify Canadians with printed words that he neglected the American forts on Lake Michigan. As a result, the British took over Fort Michilimack and Fort Dearborn in Chicago. So
this guy is such a total pussy. It's
that's kind of what happened. That's kind of what happened. General Isaac
Was
Brock,
it a sternly written letter? Do you know?
I have the letter here. I mean, if you
Why
want
don't we
to
let
read it.
Was
Jay
it
read
stern
that?
language?
I don't want you reading a letter.
Boy, this is printed out by ISIS, though.
It goes to...
What are the relevant parts? We don't want to torture
It's not
the
that
audience.
long of a thing. Where did it go? Shit.
Oh, my gosh.
What accent are we using here?
Put it up on the overhead projector.
I don't have it on the overhead projector.
I mean, were these guys from Europe? Is the Crown going to speak, or are they native Detroiters? What's going on here? Bill Hull.
Well, this is it. I mean, it's kind of long. I guess it's
the voice of Bill Hull. Let's see.
If it's sternly written, I'm with it.
Inhabitants of Canada, after 30 years of peace and prosperity, the United States have been driven to arms. The injuries and aggressions, the insults and indignities of Great Britain have once more left no alternative but mainly resistance of unconditional submission. The army under my command has invaded your country. The standard of the Union now waves over the territory of Canada. To the peaceful and unoffended inhabitants it brings neither danger nor difficulty. I come to find enemies, not to make them. I come to protect you, not injure you. I have a force which will break down all opposition, and that will force is but the vanguard of much greater. If contrary to your own interest and the just expectations of my country, you should take part in the approaching contest. You will be considered and treated as enemies, and the horrors and calamities of war will stalk you.
Yes, it was written in a stern manner.
Yes,
it was.
Henceforth, rape and pillage, boys!
Go!
That is a stern letter.
But here's the thing,
Dude, you know what, though? If he sounded like that, now if he sounded girly...
It's
what,
in the sternest of terms, Mike. I don't care if
understand.
he had a girly voice.
No, but if he had a voice
me
like
that.
yours...
What about it? What if Lindsey Graham read it? What if he had a voice like Lindsey Graham?
Lindsey Graham.
Inhabitants of Canada, after 30 years of peace and prosperity, the United States has been driven to arms.
Go away.
The injuries and aggressions, the insults and indignities of Great Britain have once more left no alternative but manly resistance of unconditional submission.
No,
Yeah,
that doesn't work, dude. But if he sounded like you, what would have been
Bill Hall!
Bill Hall, yes, I will end all of you.
Stern! I can't believe that didn't work.
I
Easy.
will
Why
rape
did
your
that
women.
work?
Pillage your towns, light them on fire.
Here's
If
the
he had a
re-
voice like yours, here's what I suggest that would have worked even better. He should have got, I don't know, recorded this to an MP3, sent it over to the Canadians, and then they could play it on the megaphones for the town. And
Oh,
just be like,
shit.
In Bill's voice.
He said he
In the
just kinda
sternest of terms.
Inhabitants of Canada, after 30 years of peace and prosperity,
Blaring over
the United States have been driven to arms! The injuries and aggressions, the insults and indignities of Great Britain have once more left no alternative
Bill, you
but
can stop,
manly
Bill.
resistance or unconditional submission!
They're fleeing north, Bill. You can stop now. They're terrified.
How did that not work?
Well, unfortunately, I think he just Lutherized it and
What?
What?
I think he just kind of Lutheraned it and pinned a note to the door there.
Come on.
You know what I
tacked a
mean?
note to the door. You kick the
Like,
door in and
I'm
slide it
taking
in.
an analogy.
You take away the whole.
Well, here's the thing.
whole
Here's the
thing
thing. You
if you
say
don't
that.
say it.
You ask why you think that whether he did it in a Lindsey Graham or an authoritative thing. The Brock.
Lindsey Graham.
Here's
He's
how
a
I would have
war
done
hawk.
it.
He's a
You're
war
not-
hawk.
Okay.
Hold on, E. We got to finish with Bill Hall, please. I think if you're going to do this, you stage your office in rich mahogany, obviously, that a leader like Bill Hall would have had. You get, and then someone films him, and he's got that pen with the huge feather on it.
Oh, yeah.
And he's dipping it in the ink, and he's got a stern look on his face like he's not fucking around.
I think you even consider a prosthetic, a leg or an arm.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
something like I've done battle.
Maybe a monocle. And he's in full dress. You know what I
I
mean?
come to protect, not injure you!
Yeah. And they can tell by the scowl
Here's the problem
and
of all
battle
this,
scars
dude,
on his
which is-
face. And then, dude, what you do is you take that video, you post it on social media, blast it to
Blow
all
it
of
around.
Canada.
You boost the post.
And they would go,
throw
dude, this
25
guy's not
bucks on
fucking
that. You
around.
boost it around to all Canadian, like in the
Oh,
region.
yeah. Oh, yeah. If
You can drill
boosted
down
it,
on demographics like crazy. Why didn't this work, E?
You look
Here's
where the most
problem.
populated
You won't even let
provinces
me
is, and
explain
bang.
it. Here's the problem. Hole was a pussy, and he was a known pussy.
Didn't sound like
Not
a
in the
pussy
audio
to me.
I heard. He sounded like a badass.
Well, Jay was doing a voice, but what if he'd done the Lindsey? You asked, well, what if it had been the Lindsey Graham voice, and people would have like, no
I
wonder.
choose to believe it was
Well-
Bill Hall's voice.
Well, Brock chose going after this area because it was known that Hull had a fear of the natives, and they would use American propaganda about native savagery.
Boy, it sounds to me like history was whitewashed on this
Yeah.
one. I refuse to believe that Bill Hall would have given into that shit.
Well, he
Although, I don't
he gave
fault-
up. He gave up. He was actually condemned. He was condemned he was court-martialed for cowardice and a negative duty in
Wow.
of
Is
negative
this
duty
written
in
by the Ty
surrendering
Cobb
fort.
biographer? I
Yeah.
don't believe it.
Yeah, Al Stump wrote this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This says Stump all over it.
Wool gave up Fort Detroit, where he outnumbered the people that gave him, and he had a fort. They sat
Wait,
there
he
and
did
just
have
to believe it.
They just had Indians go. On
There's
the,
Bill Hall does not go down without a fight!
That's right.
well, they had Indians.
I will not hand over keys to my fort!
Isaac
Bill Hall
Brock,
goes down with the ship and you know it!
General Brock just had a small amount of Indians make loud noises and run
You
back
shall
and forth.
pry my rapier from my dying hands!
Well, he gave up the fort without even a fight.
Bill Hall would never give up a fort. Everything I know about Bill Hall,
I will never surrender this fort! History has been whitewashed in this instance, Biggie!
I believe his famous quote was, over my dead body, you will have to pry this gun off my dead
Bill Hall
fingers.
said that.
Bill
Google
Hall.
it.
Bill Hall. Look at that fort.
Nobody just gets
No.
handed the keys to that fort.
Shit. Bill Hall's fort. Fort
Fake
Hall.
news, fake history.
Fake. This is bullshit.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
That is what happened.
Day in history.
And
Biggie.
by the way, to act like it's out of the realm of possibility that even a general or a big guy like Bill Hall would be somewhat scared of the savagery from the natives, dude, scalping would suck.
Yeah, that's-
Like just the
That was
thought.
serious shit.
I mean,
You can say what you well.
in the night you hear that the trampling of horses and in the distance, and it's like, oh fuck, they're gonna scalp me first. I'm Bill Hall, for Christ's sake. My scalp is a huge trophy. Please, these guys terrify me. Let's attack Canada.
Well, based on my readings, there's an argument to be made that this pussy who gave up the fort for no fight possibly could have really. We didn't lose the War of 1812, but we didn't win it. It ended on a standstill. And this fight,
that could have tipped it.
well, a lot of people look back to this fight where people of Canada and Britain started to realize, like, hey, we just thought we were going to win no matter what and take all this Canada land. And it was like, wow, America's not that big. And so
So what you're telling me is Stump had motive to create this narrative.
Yep.
Got it.
So
Thanks, E.
let's just lastly break this down really quick. What E just delivered right there. He basically said one of our finest leaders in Detroit was a pussy, and
a drunk.
and a drunk. And he also said it would have been better if we stole Canada's land. How does that make you feel,
No,
Canadians?
that's not what I'm saying.
Do you know how many
Neighbors to the
Canadians
north.
What I'm
Was
saying
it
is that was the
OUR?
war,
Oh,
and
you
there's
were?
an argument to be made that this pussy William Hall, who gave up Fort Detroit for nothing,
Hall to you.
lost the War of
E, I think
1812.
you need to be a bit more discerning in the history that you present us.
He's solely on his own lost the War of 1812 for America. You can make that argument.
I refuse to believe that Bill Hall did that.
Not that, Bill Hall. Please take it back. Blasphemous.
Well, that's my report.
Bill Hall is
Those are my
absolutely
findings.
rolling over in his grave.
That's what
right
I've gotten in my findings.
That's what Google told you, huh?